All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be touching on the brand new Elite Gear system that was added to the game as a part of the X-Men 97 update. Because of the fact that over the past few days, I've had a lot of people hitting me up asking how this thing works, which characters they should consider upgrading, and whether or not it's actually worth it. The materials that you need to farm, as you can see right here, you can get as random drops from World Boss Legend. The Godstone is completely random. Some days you might get 2 drops, some days you might get 5 drops, some days you might get no drops. My recommendation is you play the highest, most difficult boss you can at the highest stages, because I have seen a disparity. If you're playing Null, you're gonna get the lowest drops. If you're playing Ebony Maw or Corvus Glaive, you're going to get the highest possible drop. In addition to that, you can also buy, let me just go ahead and show you from this thing right here. Boom. You can also buy from the Team Battle Arena shop some Demiurge and some Godstone. I recommend that's how you spend your token every single week. You can't really get that much, but I would recommend that you get as much as you can. So that's currently the only 2 places that you can get these resources. They're extremely rare for now, but as time progresses, they're going to put them in more and more game modes. You can also purchase some from the shop if you feel like it, but I don't think you actually have to, for the simple fact that this is only going to increase your character's offense or defense by a maximum of like 10%. It's still better to buy a uniform for a character, upgrade your comic card, get CTPs, upgrade your swords. Like, all those things are a better ROI in my opinion. All right. However, if you already have a tier 4 character that you really like and you want to get more out of them, this is where this thing comes in, the Elite Gear, or as I'm dubbing it, tier 4.5. It's something for you to do when you get to the very end, if you like a character that much, or if you find that you're struggling to clear stuff with them. Let's say, for example, you're struggling to get 12 million in ABL, or if you're struggling in GBR or World Boss Legend Plus, or if you're dying a lot in PvP, you're not doing enough damage. This is where this 4th gear, or I guess it's the 5th gear, can come in and give you a little bit extra. However, it's not going to replace the need for other upgrades that you should focus on instead of it. Now, let's dive into it. There is currently 4 type of elite gear in the game. We got Ebon Rose, as you can see right here. Then we have Serpent Crown, as you can see right here. And then we also have Sword of Bone, which we saw on Storm. And then the last one is Xion Scroll. Actually, I think Xion Scroll is on somebody like Gladiator. And you might think these type of elite gear were chosen at random because of the fact that if you take a look at a human universal superhero like Sentry, and you see he has Serpent Crown, but then you also come to Apocalypse, who is a villain combat mutant, and he also has Serpent Crown. And you'll notice that if you just go to certain characters, and you start to see a pattern, but it might not be clear what that pattern is. And I want to clear it up for you guys, because I saw people saying that, oh, they just chose these gears at random, and it might be based on whether or not they were originally a speed character, a combat character, a human, a mutant. It has nothing to do with that. Okay, so there's a couple things in play here. One is whether or not they're an elemental character. So as you can see, Beta Ray Bill is an elemental character, so he got Sword of Bone, which gives him, for his 4th gear on this 5th gear, or his 4th stat on this 5th gear, however you want to look at it, it gives him elemental damage. And they made sure it increases all elemental damage, and this is the case for every character that has Sword of Bone, because in the case of somebody like Beta Ray Bill, he was originally a lightning character, but currently in this uniform he deals fire damage. So this 4th gear or 5th gear with the 4th stat will benefit him no matter which uniform that you're playing him with. And I really like that they made sure to have that foresight. And if you go over to somebody like Storm, you'll see it's the same thing. She has a very similar setup. However, not all elemental characters will have the Sword of Bone. However, most of them will. For example, in the case of Shadow Shell, you can see she's also an elemental character, and she has Sword of Bone, and it gives her elemental damage increase. However, if we go to Blue Dragon, you're going to notice a different story. Blue Dragon actually has Serpent Crown, and it gives her damage reduction. And if you just put two and two together, you'll start to see the pattern. The pattern is, if the character is elemental and you use them, or the devs intend for you to use them as a PvE character, then they will have Sword of Bone. However, if the character is an elemental character, but the devs intend for you to use them as a PvP character, in the case of Blue Dragon, because of the fact that she has iframe ignore and debuff removal, you can see debuff removal, leadership, and she has iframe ignore, I think, on her third skill, right? Because they intend for her to currently and in the future continue to be a PvP character, that is why she actually got Serpent Crown. And if you go back now and start looking at all of the PvP character, you're going to notice that they have similar setups. One, they will either have Ebon Rose, in the case of like my big dog here, right? Or in the case of Sentry, also a PvP character, you can see he has Serpent Crown. The other PvE stat, it will go to somebody like Gladiator, because she on scroll will give them extra instinct, critical rate, and critical damage. Now, I personally think this is the worst of all of the of the elite gear. If I was gonna choose one to upgrade last, it would be Sion Scroll, right? Just because of the fact that crit rate and crit damage is a game of chance. Okay, I would prefer going for guaranteed upgrades first, guaranteed damage reduction, guaranteed HP, and then guaranteed extra elemental damage, as opposed to a chance of doing more crit rate or more crit damage when I crit. You know what I'm saying? That's just my 2 cents. I think Ebon Rose is the best, not necessarily because it's on null and he's the best PvP character. It's not that. It's just because HP will basically, HP has no cap, right? There's no, I would say, diminishing return. The more HP you have, the better. The more you can get, the better. And not only that, the more max HP you have, the more you can scale it with your cards. For example, go over here, boom, boom, mythic cards, right? You go ahead and you stack up. Oh, this is the wrong one. This is the extra one that I have, right? You go ahead, you stack up as much HP as you want on your character. Then when you get the 20% from this, you're increasing your max HP by 20%. And then when you have this one equipped as well, you stack it, you increased it now by 40%, right? And then on top of that, when your character has a shit ton of HP, whenever they heal, keep in mind, they're healing for a percentage of their max HP, right? So the more HP you can pump into a character, the harder they're going to be able to kill, and the more they're going to heal when they recover. So there's just no world where having more HP is ever a bad deal, right? However, damage reduction, you will see a diminishing return at some point. For example, this can go up to a maximum of 10%, right? Let me just go ahead and show you some of the whales have already maxed it out, so we can just take a look at their account. Oh, he doesn't have his maxed out yet. He only has it at 4%, but it goes up to a maximum of 10%. And the reason why I say at some point you're gonna hit a wall of diminishing return is in the case of somebody like Dr. Doom. Perfect example. This guy has 40% damage reduction base. Okay, now if you max out his Serpent Crown, he's gonna then be up to 50%. And the best CTP for him for PvP, as you can see, is a Brilliant Authority. The max roll on this, as you can see, is actually 60%. So he's gonna be over the cap, and the cap is not 100% for damage reduction. It's actually 99%, because once upon a time we ran into a situation in PvP where characters could not die. They would go the full 5 minutes and they would be immortal because the damage reduction cap was at 100%, and people would just be doing 1 HP in terms of damage to each other, and it just made it so that no one could die. So they capped damage reduction at 99%. So because of that, currently, in my opinion, Ebon Rose is the best one to upgrade first, and then it would be the damage reduction, but it's only for specific characters depending on how you want to build them. For example, for me, I would build this guy with the greed and then get the damage reduction from here, right? Because if you give him a conquest is going to give you damage reduction as well, and it might just be wasted because of the fact that you're getting damage reduction from here as well, in my opinion. Okay, and then we have the elemental. The elemental one goes without saying. Like, you can't really go wrong getting 10% extra elemental damage for all of your elemental characters. And for example, somebody like Ghost Rider, even though Ghost Rider can be used for PvP because of his artifact and because he has insane burst damage on his fourth skill, he can just one-shot people with iframe ignore. The devs want him to be used primarily as a PvE character, and that is why they did not give him Serpent Crown or Ebon Rose. Another perfect example of this is we have two Spider-Men. We have Miles Morales, and guess what he has? Elemental damage increase. But if we go to Peter Parker, guess what he has? Serpent Crown. Because the devs want him to be used for PvP for now and presumably in the future. Now, who's to say in the future you're not going to get the option to change whether you want to equip Serpent Crown or Sword of Bone or Ebon Rose or whatever. But for now, this is what we have. Okay? So we're going to work off what we have and we'll move with that accordingly. So I would say the best characters to consider upgrading, despite the fact that it's only a 10 to 15% damage increase or damage reduction or HP boost, it would be your Doctor Strange if you're a PvE player, your Jean Grey if you're a PvE player, your Ghost Rider, your Thor, your Luna Snow, your Wanda, your Venom, your Hulk might have some duality. And Hulk is an interesting one. Let me show you guys what Hulk is looking like. Hulk is an interesting one. He got Ebon Rose, and keep in mind Hulk is currently and presumably for the rest of the time that he's in the game is going to remain as an HP based character. So his HP makes him really tanky, but he's also boosting his damage as well. Right, so Hulk is one of those ones where you can't really go wrong, in my opinion. One of the best ones to upgrade because you can use him for ABX, ABL, and still get PvP value out of him. Now, me personally, I'm currently using him with a Conquest because I use Kingpin for ABX and ABL instead. I just like using Kingpin, right? I got tired of using Hulk. Anyways, as for the PvP side of things, then obviously you want to go with the top dogs, give them a little bit more juice or a little bit more damage reduction to, you know, edge out your fights, because that's what it's going to come down to sometime. Who has more HP and who can tank a little bit more, right? So that's what it comes down to. Your Sentries, your Null, your Wolverine, your Thanos, your Adam Warlock. And look at Thanos, for example. Thanos is the perfect example of why I say the damage reduction is a little bit of a stickler, right? I see he gets damage reduction from the Serpent Crown, but keep in mind that Thanos has, I think, the highest amount of built-in damage reduction in the game, 55%. So if you were to slot a CTP of Authority or Conquest on Thanos, his technically it's not completely wasted, because obviously the Clash proc isn't up all the time or the Steel proc isn't up all the time. But when it is active, this is kind of useless because the cap for the damage reduction is set to 99%. But I guess it's good to have so that when your proc is not active, right? But personally, I like Ebon Rose better, so I would target Ebon Rose characters that are PvP based because the HP is just always gonna be there. Okay. Anyways, long story short, my first character that I'm actually gonna upgrade is actually Null, for the simple fact that it's giving him more HP, and I am struggling. I'm gonna take a screenshot of this. I am currently struggling in PvP, and I think that's what you should look at when you decide who you're going to upgrade. Are you struggling in PvE? Then maybe the elite gear that you need to upgrade is for a PvE character, one of the ones I named. If you're struggling in PvP like me because I don't have my second deck done, then maybe you need to upgrade one of the PvP characters. That's how I look at it. And I'm really happy that they went back and decided to include a lot of these older materials. Right, so let me see. Okay. 2 million is actually not bad. And how much HP are we gonna get from this? Let me see. It says manage already. Okay, but we only got 1 point. Okay. Interesting. Okay, let's go back. 2 mil. Auto limit break. RNG. Okay. Also, not every level uses Godstone. Oh, that's why they're so tight on the Godstone drop. Okay. Interesting. I thought every level would eat up Godstone, but that's not actually what happens. We can go damage reduction or we can go HP. Keep in mind you only get, I think, 7 points from here when you have it fully maxed out. So you'd be able to fully max out either the HP or the I would say for null, the extra damage ignore. I would probably just go with HP. You can reset this later. Level up. I'm gonna leave it here for now. Maybe I'll come back. I'll come back to him. Yeah. Wow. It boosts my rank by like 300 just to do that. Interesting. Okay. I might do Storm, to be honest. Can I still do Storm? Ooh. I'm gonna have to wait till tomorrow and hope I get drops. I might unlock Storms and push her up a little bit. But it's nice to see that not every level uses the Godstone, because the Godstone drops are like, trust me, bro. Like, I bought some. Like, I bought the $30 pack. I don't recommend it. I think you should grind it slowly. But I only bought it so I could show you guys how the system actually works. But honestly, I don't think it's worth it, and I don't think you have to do all this. I think you should just slowly farm it over time. Anyways, ladies and gents, leave me your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if I missed anything.